Hello everybody, I'm going to go into some Excel macros and I want to show you how to set that up. But first thing I need to answer is, why do engineers need this? You will be doing simultaneous equations in circuits or mechanics. So you need to learn how to do it. Excel is the #1 tool used in industry. So between those two reasons, it's good to learn how to do this, and these tools are not built into Excel, so I wrote them for my own. I'm going to talk about setting it up, how to install it into your version of Excel, what these do, and how to use them, and for those who are really interested, they can get into the coding. The first thing you want to do is download the spreadsheet from Canvas. When you open the spreadsheet, you'll see something like this. And there's lots of errors in it, which is okay. We're going to fix that in just a second here. What we want to do, very first thing, is we want to save this as add-ins. Macro-enabled workbook. We're going to save it as add-ins. There we go. Right there. Don't do the 97 to 2003 add-in. Do this add-in. And it'll save it in your personal space. So you have to do it. It's not automatically installed with every version of Microsoft or Excel. It is put in your data as an add-in. Save it. It's already there for me. You won't see this message box. So as soon as I save the add-in, boom, it pops right up. And it shows you what's going on. Now, I want to close this. You want to be able to use this in whatever book you open. You want it just to be available. So first thing I'm going to do is close this. You want to save my changes. Don't save it. Yep. And then I don't need to close this workbook. I'm going to go ahead and go to Options, File, the File menu, Options, or the File tab, Options, and Add-ins, Manage, Linear Algebra and Trig. This is the ones I wrote. Okay, let's put them in this workbook. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to enter a matrix. And I'll show you how one of these add-ins works. One thing you could do with matrices in Excel is what's called unit. So I can create a 3x3 matrix, 2x2, I accidentally press 2, 3x3, 4x4, whatever size I want to. Now what happens is, if I do reduced row echelon form, I reduce this to the unit matrix or identity matrix. And this becomes the inverse matrix. It's linear algebra. It's some math maybe you haven't gotten into. The main thing is you're trying to solve simultaneous equations is what you're doing. One way to do this is to select all your output rows, which I've done here, equals, one of my routines I entered was RREF. I'll show you how to get that in a second here, and you can also get it from here. So we can go down. All my functions are things like in lowercase. So here's RREF. So you can explore the function browser. It's under the Math and Trig group. So let's go to RREF. And click OK. And it's going to ask me for my input range. So you can use this function browser. You don't have to use the function browser. And hit return. And there it is. So I see an error in this. The matrix is singular. This should become an identity matrix. It doesn't. That means these equations are actually linear dependent. You can just change one number. Now you have a well-formed solution. This is the inverse matrix of this one. And to check that it is, you can do matrix multiply. So I showed you one way. You don't have to select the output functions, the output range, equals MMULT. This is a built-in function in Excel. You'll notice the capitalization, that means it's built into Excel. So you need two arrays, comma, and array number 2. And hit enter, and it multiplies the 2. You should get the identity matrix back. Something times its inverse is equal to unity. Well, in matrices, it's the identity matrix. 1 along the diagonals, 0 everywhere else. And this is a tiny, tiny number due to rounding errors in the computer. It's 0. So that's a couple ways to do it, using the function browser and using this, which might be all you need, actually. The next thing to do is to customize the ribbon. This will give you some helps that you wouldn't normally have. Let's find a nice blank space on the ribbon, right-click, customize, and you can add a new group right here. You have to for your own built-in commands. So let's add a new tab. I need a new tab. And I'm going to call this tab My Math. Okay. And I'm going to rename the group. I'm going to create 2 groups. I'm just going to do 1 for now. Working with matrices is in the field of linear algebra, so I'm going to call it linear algebra. And then I want to put a command in the linear algebra. I'll put in RREF. First, though, I got to get macros. What's funny is these macros, if you go view the macros, you won't see them because it's an add-in, but it shows up here. So we'll add this under linear algebra, rename it. You can rename it, and you can choose an icon. Instead of run RREF, I'm just going to call it RREF. Run RREF is so that I don't have a name conflict. And click OK, and I will get a new tab with a new command. And the advantage of this command, you can select the input range from here, from a box. You can select it ahead of time, and it will be highlighted. I was in box B9, so B9 is already there. But if I want to change it, just select it. Do that. Select the output range, a new output range, and hit submit. And there you go. So you can add these. You get a dialog box. That's the advantage of customizing the menu. You get a dialog box. The functions are pretty easy to use, but if you like the dialog box, you might want to do. Now, we want to see, well, what do these things do? What are the functions I've implemented? What do they do? And for that, I'll open up another book. So, we see RREF right here. I've shown you how to use it, how to install the add-ins, things like that. You can, if you don't like these macros, this is my function. This is how you do it in Excel. Just showing you. In the old days, by the way, you had to select the output cells first. They demonstrated the very first thing, so I won't demonstrate it again. Dot product. You can get a dot product. There is a way to do it in Excel. This is how you do it in Excel. And it's shown here. This is how you do it using my function. Dot. It might be hard to remember some products. So some of these are more memory convenience. This might be hard to remember over here. Which is why I implemented these things. I also, a cross product, same thing. You can achieve the cross in this way. Here's how you do it. You copy the 2 vectors that you're interested in, and you just copy them next to each other. Then you do M determinant, That's another matrix function, although it doesn't have a matrix output. It doesn't have multiple cells output. So you click here for the x-coordinate and you select this box as the input range. And you go here and you'll see the range moves over one column when you move the formula over one column, and the formula changes by one column. Relative references. So that's how you can use relative references. So you can use my function, input the two vectors, and like I showed you with the customized menu, you could put this on a custom click so you get a user form that you enter the ranges in. This is the formula for the cross product. And let me show you. It is upper left times lower right minus upper right times lower left. That's the formula. And if you move over one cell, the formula moves over one column. Excuse me, you move over one column, the formula moves over one column. Something else I did was to implement all the trigonometric functions in degrees. Excel only does radians. And arcsine, the inverse functions in degrees. So these are the inverse functions in degrees. I also implemented those. In other words, you enter the value of the function and it returns the angle. These two were not in Excel with the returning radians. So I went ahead and did that also. So this is everything my functions do, and they are all right here. You can see there's two of them because I have both macros and functions, and the add-ins, in this workbook. Most of the time you won't need that. You just need to know that you can get to them through the function list. If I did view macros now, I would see the macros. It's probably easier just to use add-ins. Don't worry about the macros. Don't worry about Visual Basic coding. Just use them, and then to get the dialog boxes, create your custom menu to get the dialog boxes for these things. You'll notice you will get a dialog box if you use the function browser of sorts. You won't get exactly the dialog box you want. Let's go. Sometimes you won't get the one you want. So let's do this. And you only get to put in the input range, but that might just be enough. That might be all you need. Use the function browser. Just put in the add-ins, use the function browser. That might be all you need. You may not need to customize the menu bar. Cancel. That's all the functions I've implemented. And if you really want the VBA code, you can go here. Look at the Visual Basic. And here's the project. It's got two open workbooks, by the way. We've got the add-ins plus the workbook I have open. So this has all the Visual Basic code in it. Module 1, there's all the code. The forms that I made. Plus, yeah, that's it. This workbook, there's one thing that sets up all the helps. So, that's it, folks. This is what I wanted to show you about being able to do linear algebra with Excel. And of course, we're going to learn how to do it with MATLAB also. So just to summarize, go ahead and open up the spreadsheet that's on Canvas, this linear algebra and trig. Save it as an add-in. I showed you how to do that at the very beginning. Close it, add it to Excel, and then create a new book. And you can start using them to your heart's content. And it won't let me do this, by the way. It says you can't change. Oh, it will let me do it. Things have changed in Excel a little bit. There must have been an update that kind of improved things. But since it's an add-in, all the functions show up. A cosine D, A cotangent D, and so forth. Okay, that's all, folks. Use it to do your linear algebra you have to do, solve equations and things. Excel is a great tool to help you organize things so that when your calculator, when it gets just too complicated on your TI-83 or 84 or whatever you have, if it just gets too complicated, you can organize your information in Excel. You can set up statics problems or electronics problems or things like that. Okay, that's it.